Welcome to Leadership Unlocked, where we unlock the pivotal stories that shape extraordinary leaders. I'm Dusty Holcomb, and on this show, we don't just talk about leadership, we decode it. And in every episode, we sit down with change makers who walk through the fire, challenge the status quo, and emerged with wisdom worth sharing. These aren't just lessons, they're lived experiences. They're real moments that reveal the mindset, the resilience, and the clarity beyond creating lasting impact. And today, man, you're going to hear one of those stories. Today's guest, Ross Simmonds, is a fountain of knowledge and just an incredible whirlwind of value creation. He's built an empire helping brands turn one idea into unstoppable momentum. He's behind Foundation, Distribution.ai, and the best-selling book, Create Once, Distribute Forever. Fortune 500 companies listen to him, and so should you. If you want your message to move fast and not just exist, this episode is your playbook. Let's get into it. This is Leadership Unlocked. Ross, thank you so much for carving out time for me and for our audience. And I have to say, I've been looking forward to this conversation. You know, I had the privilege of seeing you speak at Search Love back in 2023, and I was blown away with how passionate you were about content, which is really about stories. And so I followed you on LinkedIn. I'm maybe a bit of a fanboy, but I love the way you think about things. And I'm just so grateful that you're here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Dusty. I appreciate it. It's wild to go back that far in time, and I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the conversations over the years to geek out with you and discuss content and how stories can play such a great and important role in both business and leadership at large. And I'm excited to be here with you today. It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. Well, you know, one thing I just wanted to go right into, which is, you know, your world is around stories.
Yeah.
How did you, I'd like to understand the story of that. I mean, you run a marketing agency and really an awareness agency, because that's what marketing is, making people aware of great stories. How did stories become your passion?
It's funny because I think stories for me have always been something that I've been obsessed over, but I never really thought would become my career. My favorite class all through elementary school was always English. I got excited about the idea of just reading and hearing stories, all of the books. I was always in the library. I loved stories, and going into new worlds just was a fun thing for me. So I spent a lot of my evenings and weekends actually writing stories when I was a kid. Like, there was a lot of books that I wrote. I remember my parents' first computer they brought home, and I was there like just typing and writing these stories in Microsoft Word. I think I was using Notepad at the time because we couldn't afford Microsoft Word, and I didn't know how to bootleg things back then. So I was just in Notepad writing these stories. In the moment, I didn't really know why or what that was, but I just have always loved stories. And the reason why I like stories, reflecting back, is because they're the one thing that across humanity, I think all people can resonate with. And stories connect all of us. Stories connect us to the past, and they allow us to even stay connected in the future, right? Like, when we think of humans and people and leaders, what we actually think of are the stories. We think of the stories of these people that came before us. When we think of our own cultures, our ancestors, our families, we think of the stories of generations before us and the struggles that they had and the paths that they went on. And that's a human thing. And it's one of the, in my opinion, most beautiful things about being human is that, like, we will always be connected through stories. The data might change, the tech might change, but we're still going to read, we're still going to watch movies, we're still going to listen to things. We still want to hear the narration from somebody who is intrigued by something or compelled by something, and hear them tell a story. So for me, I just find storytelling to just be a beautiful thing. And because of that, I found myself into this world of marketing kind of by accident, where I was telling stories online about fantasy football. I was creating a bunch of blog posts about fantasy sports. I had another one about video games like Madden and The Sims, and people all over the world started to read this. And for me, as like a 18, 19-year-old kid living in my parents' basement in the middle of like nowhere, I was like, this can work. Like, I can live in the middle of nowhere and reach millions of people. This is a pretty cool thing. So I doubled down. I just kept writing. I kept writing. and the world started to listen, and the world gave me a lot of cool opportunities ever since.
I love this. And there's something you've said there that I want to double click on real quickly. Like you were writing, you were creating, you were writing, you were creating, but you have, in my perception, is you've created a unique way to not only create the content, but distribute it, right? To get the story told, because there's nothing worse than a great story untold. How did you bridge that gap to actually connect with an audience and to tell the story?
The first fantasy football blog I was writing back in the day, let me take you back. I was writing this piece, and I created what I thought was a good piece. It was a solid piece, but I wasn't getting any eyeballs on it. And I couldn't figure out why. I was like, this piece is good. Like, why isn't anyone liking it? And then it clicked. It was like, people don't just find this stuff. Like, this stuff needs to be spread. So I shared it on my Facebook page, and my mom liked it. And then my buddy Matt liked it. And I was like, okay, 2 likes. This is embarrassing. But my buddy Matt also was connected to a few other football people, and it started to spread, and it started to share. And then I started to see the share count go up and the like count go up, and then the light bulbs went off. Right, you have to distribute the things that you're creating. It's not enough just to create it. So that was when I became obsessed. I started to take all of my fantasy content and distribute it through forums. And I was getting quoted by some of the top publications in the industry. And again, I was just like a 19-year-old kid writing about sports, but everyone thought I was like this fantasy football guru, and it was amazing. It was kind of like the eye-opening moment. My marks started to go down, so my mom told me to shift my writing from fantasy to marketing, which was my degree. So I started to write about marketing, and I just applied the same lesson where I started to distribute that content. I went into communities and spread it. And now with our partners and our clients at Foundation, every single day, we're helping brands realize this 10 and a half, 15 years later, helping them see that distribution is a key part. Like, creating content is important, but if no one sees it, if the content doesn't get spread, then it's for nothing. So we've been intentional. I've even written a book called Create Once, Distribute Forever to help creators, entrepreneurs realize that, like, you don't want to die with your stories. Your stories are probably important enough to get out there. And if you just collect them on your blog, if you just record podcasts, but you don't do anything with them, then maybe you're journaling. And that's okay too. I'm okay with journaling. I think it's a great thing. But if there is an intention of having impact, then the stories that you tell need to be spread. And that's kind of been my mission, to help people realize that the stories that you tell might be great today, but you have a small sample size of people who have seen it, and thus you're not getting the results you want. So increase that sample size, grow that audience, and that's where the real magic happens.
I love that you had a passion. You're writing about fantasy football, and then realized the magic unlock there was, this is good stuff, but somebody else besides me and mom and my best friend have got to read this. Let's talk about leadership for a second. So you now run an agency, you're an entrepreneur, you're a CEO, you've done a lot of cool startup-y stuff and navigated this. How did that start? What's your entrepreneurial journey and your leadership journey? Because you're an influencer, and leadership is influence.
Right.
Tell me the story there.
I would say, like, one of my early experiences around leadership came from kind of just like my upbringing. Like, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. He ran a paving company. My uncle ran a paving company. And I was able to see through their lens the stress, but also the benefits of being a leader. And I got to see how they not only led their families, but also led their businesses. And I took a lot of inspiration from that. I loved the fact that they were kind of in control of their own destiny. But what I loved the most is that they embraced that philosophy. And it's something that everyone talks about now, but it's like that servant leader mindset where people would ask them to do things and they were there. They would show up for people. They would show up for their clients. They would show up for their team. They'd show up for their partners. They would show up for their wives. Like, they showed up for the grandkids. Like, so many times my grandfather would pick me up and I'd be like, how do you do this all the time? Like, how can you just go and pick up kids after school on the drop of a dime? And it's like, it's wild. But it's like, just like complete sacrifice for others. And that commitment to waking up every day with the intention of serving was like a huge mental impact on me, watching them show up every single day in that way. And I think for me, I leaned heavily towards that idea of team, use me, let me serve you. Like, use me as a chess piece and tell me where you need me and let me coach and let me support and let me guide. But my main job is to make you win, make you successful in whatever path that looks like. So I learned a lot from them around that. And they never said it. Like, that's the wildest thing. It's like, back then, I don't know, like my grandparents, like, he's old school. So he's not reading books about servant leadership.
Yeah.
He's definitely not calling himself a servant leader. He's just like doing it. And watching that was very cool. I never was able to like put the word around what he was until like I started reading stuff and got book smart and stuff. But like looking back, he was living that philosophy way back then.
It's amazing to me how these mentors and these stories that people are living out loud are so influential to us. Like their own distribution mechanism right there for us. It's just the living it out loud and in practice. True. Did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, was that always the dream from day one for you, or as you figured this thing out?
It became obvious when I started to see their life, like just the control. Like my grandparents weren't wealthy, like they weren't well off. Like I was considered an underprivileged kid my entire life. They ran their own company, but they had a hard life. But the control of the life was absolutely just like, to me, the dream. Because I had other uncles who were like, had to be at work from this time to this time. And I was like, I don't think that works for me. But that control inspired me. So when I seen that, the light bulbs went off. It's like, I need to create things. I need to create value in some way. And I started young. I had a do-rag company when I was in high school where I was selling do-rags to all of my colleagues, not colleagues, but other students. Paid for a good chunk of my tuition with that fantasy football blog. So I fell in love with entrepreneurship early. I ran an event company all through university. I've launched different startups. I've invested in startups. I've grown. So long answer to a short question. I think I was molded into entrepreneurship and just fell in love with it and never looked back.
Was it always easy?
It's still not easy. Entrepreneurship after kids is the hardest thing I've ever done. But kids is a whole new ballgame, which is fun, and I love it as well. But entrepreneurship used to be, for 6 years ago, I would say entrepreneurship is the hardest thing I've ever done. Then I had kids. Now it's a new thing, but entrepreneurship is the second hardest thing I have ever done. I love it. It's never easy, but it's a fun ride. I love the game. And I think of it in that way. And I think that allows me to show up every day excited because the game is long. It's like, this is a game I literally will commit to for the rest of my life of being an entrepreneur, of creating value for other people. Because at the end of it, I want to be able to just like take my last breaths and know, okay, did I add enough value to the world that it wouldn't have existed if I existed? And I think that through business and through capitalism, to be honest, that's possible. I think you can give so much value to the world and make the world better through existing that it can be a net positive. And that's kind of like my MO, and that's the game that I'm trying to play.
I love that perspective. It's not how much you can take, it's how much you can give, because if you give enough, you're going to get back. It's not about extracting, it's about giving. One of my favorite books is The Science of Success, and he talks about the cost, price, value triangle, and how businesses, if they're ever charging more than the value the customer's receiving, they should be fired. And you're talking about giving. What has been the greatest challenge as an entrepreneur and as a leader, leader within the entrepreneurial world? And then what's been the single best reward for you?
I'd say the greatest challenge for me would have been early on. I had a lot of, unlearning. Unlearning is the most difficult thing as an entrepreneur. So I learned early that the most important thing, and your listeners might be surprised by this, is I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada. Like, it's a small little province, less than 1 million people, I think, still. And to me, that was the limit. It's like, be successful in Nova Scotia, be the most successful person in Nova Scotia, get Nova Scotian clients. And I had to unlearn that problem. I was like, I started to see all of this traffic from a global lens. I got clients down in Miami. I started to have clients in Stockholm, in Sweden. They were asking me to fly over there. And then my brain completely reshaped, where I was like, oh, I can be just as good as everyone else. Like, I'm not just me versus the person down the street or the people I met in high school. I can compete and actually succeed on the level of some global leaders? Didn't know that. And that unlearning and that unlock took me way too long. It took me way too long to realize that no matter where you're from, if you're good, you're good. If you're good, you are good. So go be great, go be excellent, and don't water down your greatness just because you're from a certain area or any of that stuff. So that was the first piece. In terms of the greatest reward from leadership, I'd say seeing people on my team win. Like I get so much joy out of seeing other people win. When I see someone who starts with us and they're 25 and then they leave and they're 30, but they have an opportunity to go work at one of the largest companies in the world with a salary that is like 4 times what I could ever do. It's like, cool. I love that. I love that for you. I'm happy for you. Go get it. Like secure the bag. And seeing our alumni win is always amazing because it means that we built an engine that is allowing them to thrive and do their thing. And even if they can do it internally and continue to grow internally, that's even better. That's icing on the cake. So I think that's one of the most rewarding. And then the most selfish but rewarding thing would be like being able to travel and bring my mom, being able to travel and bring kids, show my mom Italy and show, like all of that stuff, take my kids to Italy, let them do things that I would have never been able to do when I was a kid. Has been really rewarding as well.
So there's a couple things that I really like resonate with, even when you're talking about your team and being so joyful at their success. That's a reflection of what you were talking about a few minutes ago. It's just creating value. It'd be so easy to have a mindset of not plenty, but holding on so tight and feeling like you've been diminished because somebody you've poured in and they've left. But no, you've created value and they're going to go create more value. Man, I love that.
There's enough for everyone to eat. My grandmother used to always say that. Like she used to always invite all the kids. All the kids would come over to Nana's house and she would somehow have all these pies, have all these meals, and there was always enough for everyone to eat. And I view business the same way. There's enough for everyone to win. I think there's enough for everyone to win. And if you're on my team, I want you to win, and I want you to win in a very meaningful way for your life. And that's the outcome. So I think that's the mentality that I definitely attempt to carry with me every single day.
I think it comes back to you tenfold too. When you live with a mindset and you give with that mindset, it does come back. And it may not be now, and you may never even know it, but man, the impact, the influence, the opportunity, you get out of the world what you put into it.
Because it's like, it happens with leadership in action. But when you think about the work that we do in marketing, it's the same concept. When I write a piece of content, if that piece of content doesn't give the world value, I will never get value back. So brands and businesses and leaders and creators and influencers and all of the folks out there, like a lot of people are very selfish with their content. Where they're like, I don't want to give away my secret sauce. I can't give away everything. I can't give away all my tips. I can't bring the thing that I learned yesterday to my audience today. That's too quick. My competitors will see it and they'll steal it. I give it all away because I think truly, if you give away the best content, best information, best resources, 2 things are going to happen. 1, the rest of the market and the industry learns and they develop a goodwill with you, and that's a net positive. But 2, because you gave it away, you have no choice but to keep getting better. Because what's next? I have nothing else to say. So I better stay good. I better be sharp because I am going to run out. So it's like a forcing function where I give everything away and then I have no choice but the next week, the next month to come out with something better. But also repurpose what I've done in the past, reshare it, distribute it. But it forces me in the back of my mind to be like, okay, I have to come up with another hit. I have to come up with something great again. And it's just a never-ending loop.
It's not embraced by many, right? It's not embraced by so many people hold on so tight and try to I don't know, it's not selfish. It's just not understanding that you're actually creating this giant spinning center of gravity that if you just give it away. I love that. I have to ask you before I forget. Okay. Was there a single moment or phrase, you said it took you too long to realize that you were playing small ball when you were qualified for the big game? Was there a single experience or relationship or mentor that helped you take that step function shift in an approach to the game?
Early on, I got invited to speak at MozCon. And the team, Rand Fishkin, all of those guys were like, Ross, come and speak. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And I stressed over that talk. I put all of my energy. I had to bring all of the heat and just like do my thing. And I go up and I do my thing, and it was great. It went well. But that was probably the first time I did a talk on that big of a stage. And I think Foundation at the time was like 4 people. So we were relatively small. But after I spoke, I had a publicly traded company come up to me and they were like, we want to work with you. And I was like, interesting. This is very interesting. And it was a massive switch because we went through the process. We went through the procurement with 4 people. And they wanted to still work with us. And then they flew us out. We did our thing. We worked with them for 2 years. And it was like, we can do work with publicly traded companies? This is a whole new world. And it was pretty cool.
It's really neat. I mean, they're buying the quality of the idea. They're buying the quality of the thinking, not the scale, the infrastructure, all the trappings that sometimes are limiting mindsets to what it is that we're really trying to do. That's super cool. Have you always been a person who gave it all away? Was that something you learned as well, or was that just your approach?
That was learned. I don't know where I learned it. It was very early. I read a book, and the book was like, just give everything away. Like, don't die with anything. And it's kind of like the same idea of like what some people will say in terms of like philanthropy and stuff. It's like, don't die with all of your money. Like, give it away, spread it, make sure that it's been used and spread. And it's like that with ideas. It's like any day now you could get hit with lightning. Like, do you want to die with your best ideas just stuck in you instead of out there for the world to get better and improve? And it's kind of like a science approach, right? Like, scientists are encouraged to publish their learnings, their lessons, their journals, and have them peer reviewed. And as much as marketing isn't that, that's what I want marketing to be. I think that marketers, storytellers, and creators should freely publish their ideas and their strategies and the ways in which they're approaching things, and then get critique from their peers. That's how we all get better. I also think we need our own Hippocratic oath because marketers do a lot of sketchy things, but that's a different conversation. But like, yeah, like that's kind of my philosophy is like, I want to give out the ideas because I crave the feedback and to know like, am I right? Are people aligned with the way I'm thinking, or am I off?
Does it resonate with everybody you work with, or do you have some people that just, they don't get it?
I'd say a lot of folks don't get it. A lot of folks are like, why are we giving away all of our secret sauce? And the truth is, like, if people consume that content, if I break down, like recently I wrote a piece on generative engine optimization, how to optimize for the LLMs, and I gave away all of the sauce. I don't think many people will read that and actually do. Most people read and they don't do anything with the information. But they will read and say, this person knows what they're talking about. Let's just hire them to do it. And that's the outcome that oftentimes happens. So yes, there's risk that 1 or 2 people will take it and act. And guess what? I'm rooting for those people to be successful, because if they're successful, guess who they're going to associate with? The person who helped them being successful. Me. Great. Yeah. That's awesome. So I believe it's the right play.
Well, and thinking about it the way you just described that too, like you're doing those same things. You're going out and obsessively learning and taking that knowledge and turning it into something. Well, the people that are going to take what you wrote and learn from it and go do it, I mean, they're learning just like they're just using you as that referential source of expertise. And yeah, some people will just hire you, but others are going to actually learn, and you're a learner. I love that you're not holding on to it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah, obviously your grandparents, huge mentors. Do you have any other mentors, or if from them, if they are that mentor that you'd want to, shout out to, if you had the single greatest lesson or piece of advice that you were given along your journey, what would that be? I'm
a big reader, and some of my biggest mentors I've never actually met.
I love that.
And the one that stands out to me is Clayton Christensen. He wrote a book, How to Measure Your Life.
Yeah.
And it's not just business, it's personal, family, all of that stuff. But he essentially talks about how in his life, it's not about the destination. It's all about the journey. And I say that to myself all the time. The destination doesn't matter, it's the journey. Things get hard, it's not the destination, it's the journey. I read his book every year because I think he was one of the greatest minds in business, and because he understood that you're not just a business person. You are a human who has personal, has family life, friends, spirituality, all of those complex things. You're not just like this CEO walking around CEO all the time, right? Like you have layers, like Shrek would say, like and his book, How Will You Measure Your Life, was a very impactful book for me. I've gifted it to tons of people, but his concept, which is, it seems pretty cliche, but it's not the destination, it's the journey, was a very important unlock for me.
It's interesting you bring him up. He's one of my favorites as well. And that book, Transformational for My Life, I would say that probably my favorite business book early on was, The Innovator's Dilemma, and really struggled with it. But anything he wrote was gold.
Yeah.
I think I best understood what he wrote when I read I cannot remember the title of it, the book you just mentioned.
Right. How will you measure your life?
Yeah. How will you measure your life? When I understood it wasn't about the thing we were doing, it was about how we were doing it. It's the journey. Right. And I don't know about you, but that was advice I received very early, but did not understand. It took a whole lot of achieving goals before I realized it wasn't the goal that mattered.
Yeah,
it was
it's
actually
true. And the
journey.
Goal never feels as good. The journey actually feels the best. Maybe it's just me, but I love the journey. The journey is when I feel the best. It's like, great, I closed a client. Little dopamine spike, like really little. It's like, cool, that's nice. But the journey is so much fun. It's like that. You're getting the state of flow. You're building camaraderie with your peers, your friends, your colleagues. You're going through the journey, and just being able to embrace that and even articulate it to the team, so the team knows that it's the journey that we're on that we should enjoy. It's one of the best parts of the game.
Well, let's dig deeper on that. Tell me how you do that. How do you lead your team in a way that makes it about the journey, not the goal? Because we often, and I've been guilty as a coach and advisor, like orienting people towards the outcomes, because that's the game of business is measured in the points on the scoreboard, right? But how do you as a leader ensure that the outcomes don't trump the actual thing you're building, which is the journey and the muscle growth that comes from doing the work?
Celebrating it. Celebrate the journey as much as possible, over communicate it and articulate it, not just through myself, but also through the leaders on the team. So I don't believe there's a such thing as over communication. I also don't believe you can over celebrate your team. I think you can do these things as much as possible. And with the internet today, there's never been a better time to be able to do this stuff at scale with great impact. You can send a voice note to like 10 people in the matter of an hour that will make their day. You can call someone on their birthday and surprise them and make their day. They might be a little scared at first, but they'll answer and they'll be like, hey, what's going on? And those are great things, right? Like emails, DMs, text messages, even just little messages on LinkedIn. Like all of these little touch points are great to celebrate, to show appreciation, gratitude, all of those things. And then to ensure that the journey is known, you communicate those things too. So when something goes wrong, you are there to show up. You might not even be, you might be in an airport. You might be about to go on a plane, but you notice on Slack that the team is talking about something that went wrong. You jump in with a quick voice note. Hey folks, this wasn't great. I hear it, I see it, but guess what? I appreciate all of you for showing up the way that you're doing right now. This is a part of the journey. This is a part of the process. Let's regroup. Let's learn. Let's collaborate and get through this. I appreciate all of you. I have to jump on a plane and I'll chat with you soon when I'm on the ground. That's it. Those little moments of showing up have had such a ridiculous impact on people. I have received so many emails, so many messages, so many like heartfelt voice notes from people on my team who are like, I've never seen anyone show up like this. Like, I've never seen a CEO show up like this, and just like, I'll record a video and just like one-to-one, like, look, I know that sucks. Like you kind of dropped the ball, but I'm not mad at you. This is a part of the game, blah, blah, blah. The same way that you would coach somebody in sports, I also have a background, so I think I learned a lot of those lessons too. But you call it when you see it, you lead with empathy in it, you help them, you navigate it, and it's a great way to celebrate the journey. But the biggest piece for me is over communicate, articulate it well, and also maintain a level of expectations. Like the biggest mistake in all of my career that I ever made was assuming that people knew what I expected. Unspoken expectations will make you lose sleep. The only reason why I have a few gray hairs is because I went to sleep without articulating my expectations to people every single time. Like whenever I don't articulate what I expect and I'm disappointed that somebody didn't read my brain, I drop the ball. I get stressed out. That's the other part of it. Over communicate and celebrate the journey, but also make sure that people know your expectations throughout the journey, because that is such an ugly time in your life.
Man, we are singing out of the same hymnal. That is the single most common thing that I see in working with leaders, in high functioning, high performance leaders, and asking the question, are you sure that they're clear on your expectations? And the answer is yes, of course they are. How do you know? Well, they should know, but they should know because they're good. No. It doesn't work that way. That brain reading thing, we haven't figured that out yet.
No, not yet. It's true. It's difficult. It's difficult because your brain's always on, right? Like you're always thinking of these things and you feel like you've even communicated these things, but like the smallest little unset expectations can just like make you go crazy. It will make you go crazy.
I could not agree with you more. And you are a rare soul who has figured that out and then built systems and processes to do that. You know, one thing that really stands out to me from what you just shared regarding the journey is you're actually paying attention during the journey. So being fully present in the journey, looking for those little moments intentionally. So it's not about not paying attention to the goal. It's being present, like fully present. So let me ask you this. How are you teaching that to your kids? How are you, because our society doesn't teach kids that. How are you doing it?
So we're a very traditional household in regards to devices. And the devices, I believe, and I know people might get upset at me for this, but I think the devices, I am so grateful that I didn't get a device until I was like 20 or 19 or 18. Like the devices make it so easy to be distracted and to just like go into a world that it doesn't exist. I don't show up at dinner with my device. I show up at dinner every night, just me, you've got me, my attention, let's talk. Oh, you want to talk? And we like, that's the thing. So I give them my full attention when I can. Weekends, they've got dad. I'm there, I'm focused, I'm intentional. And as difficult as it is to like stay away from the device, I try to stay away from it as much as possible when I'm around them. And we try to emulate as a couple how to communicate expectations in front of the kids. So oftentimes, even with my wife, we'll have a conversation and we're having the conversations in the kids. And everybody knows those little ears are always listening. So we try to communicate with intention. And here's the trick. They'll never hear this podcast. They might when they're older. Here's something that I've done that is so good. We'll just like have positive conversations about them, pretending that they don't know that we're having them. So I'll be like, Aaliyah is such a good listener. She's been doing such a great job at like cleaning up her room and doing this. And I just like look out of the corner of my eyes and I see her little smile. And she doesn't know that I'm saying it so she can hear it, but it has had a massive impact. And I think from a leader's lens, you should remember that we're working with people in business too. So when you celebrate people, or you even like have a comment about someone in front of the team during a town hall, those things feel so good to people. When I was a kid, I had a coach in basketball and I wasn't a great basketball player. I came off of the bench. I wasn't great. I wanted to spend more time on like playing with like writing words and like books and stuff like that. But my coach was right behind me and I had headphones on, but they weren't playing music. And he was talking to another parent and he was like, you know, and it kind of stung, but it was good at the same time. He was like, you know, Ross is probably not going to go that far in basketball, but he's going to go far in life. And I heard that and I was like, I'm going to go far in life. And I committed and I'm like a grown man now. And I still think about that all the time about how this person believed in me. So in front of my kids, I don't say they're not going to go far in gymnastics. I don't say that. I'll just make, they're really good at math. They're really good at spelling. They're really good at listening. They're so kind lately. They've been so kind to their friends. They're saying please and thank you a lot. I call out the things that we want to see. without them knowing that I'm trying to do it in front of them. And it's been good. It's cool. It's cool to see.
They're not going to listen to this, but I think everybody should hear that. And I think it applies whether you're talking about your kids or whether you're talking about how you show up in leadership, right? Even if you're only leading yourself, like how you talk to yourself is so important.
Ooh, good one.
And just like, this is what's going well. This is part of the journey that's good, because so many people, myself included, live in this mindset of there's always more, there's always striving, there's always things. And I think it's part of the reason I wanted to, do a podcast, is so I could talk to amazing leaders and learn from them. But I think what you just shared is not just great parenting. I think it's just an example of intentional leadership and living out loud what it is that you believe. That's awesome. Let me ask you something. Are you leading off of instinct? I mean, you've got the vision, you've built the thing, but most leaders I talk to are still flying without a system. Vision to Victory, the mastermind, changes that. It's a 12-week experience where we install the leadership operating system you've always needed: purpose, strategy, cadence, metrics, execution. This isn't a course. It's not more content. It's a small group of leaders who are done chasing clarity and ready to lead with it. You'll walk out with a full leadership operating system, a trusted circle of peers, and a repeatable way to scale without losing yourself along the way. There are only 12 seats in this group, and most are already spoken for. It's an application-only process. Go to arcusgroup.com/mastermind to apply. You've already talked to me a little bit about a favorite book, so I'm going to ask you a few other kind of rapid fire questions I'm really curious about. If you were to put a circle around the worst leadership advice, or the thing that someone told you that you had to do or you had to live up to, what would that be?
Fake it till you make it. Like, I think that philosophy is actually bad advice. I think there's parts of it that are true, but parts of it that are wrong that people don't get right. And let's break it down a bit. If you are faking your mentality around, I can show up in this event, I can show up in this conversation as someone different, like Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, that mentality, if you can bring that, cool, do it. If you need to be, if you're shy, you're an introvert, and you have to be outgoing and you have to convince yourself to fake it to do that, do your thing. But when you fake it in the sense that you're like, oh, I'm going to pretend I'm successful before I'm successful. I'm going to operate in a way that doesn't really fit like my vibe, my energy. It's going to actually drain me. I'm not living my values, but I believe these are the values I'm supposed to have. It never works. It never works. So that to me is a big piece of advice that isn't really true unless you have the nuance of knowing what is okay to fake, which is essentially like, I need to just like pretend I'm who I want to be to become who I want to be. That I'm with. But when you completely are faking who you want to be to get somewhere and it's not aligned with your values, your beliefs, your vision or anything, I think that's broken.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it creates an internal cognitive dissonance and tension that whether you recognize it or not, people will see through it. They understand that you're not, that's not who you are. And it's, frankly, it's not who you should be. But I think so many people buy into that mentality. What is a daily practice that you follow that makes you a more effective, more impactful leader?
I'm going to say the most impactful one actually is weekly. And every week I have this thing called Wired In Wednesdays, where every Wednesday I take no meetings, no calls, nothing. Just I'm wiring in, putting in my headphones. I'm going to focus on high priority things. And I've done that since I was like 21 years old. And that wired in day has become something that we actually do as an org, where organizationally, internal meetings, there's no internal meetings on Wednesdays. I want everyone to put in their headphones, grab their favorite cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is that's your beverage of choice, just wire in and do important work and focus on shipping things, getting things out, building things, launching things. And that has been a pivotal thing because it's so easy to get caught up in saying yes to everything and then filling your days with not always distractions, but things that aren't your number one most important thing. And then you have a fragmented day where you go from meeting to doing the heavy work, to meeting to doing the heavy work, to meeting to lunch, to doing the heavy work, too fragmented. You just block a day where it's like heavy work, heavy tasks, Let's go. It feels so great. I love Wednesdays.
I also have followed that practice, and it's my favorite day of the week, right? You just you take a deep breath and you go, I don't have to be a slave to anything other than doing the most important thing.
Dusty, I would be curious though, like what's a daily one? I don't have any habits that I can say I truly do daily unless it's like dinner with the fam or putting my kids down. But like, what's a daily habit that you would say you've done that is every day? Do you have one?
I do. I have a very disciplined morning routine that is super, super simple, but it starts with a giant glass of water, and then it's going to go 15 minutes of meditation and a contemplative practice where I just shut it off. And it was the hardest thing I ever tried to do 10 years ago. I don't miss that. Yeah. Even if it's a minute, I never miss my morning meditation.
That's cool. I love that.
That's the only time I'll let my brain shut off.
That's fair. I need to find some space in my day to make something a habit each day.
It's a work in progress, always getting better. And then I'll personally, I find that it's the journey, right? I find that when it becomes too much about the process and not about the thing I'm actually trying to do, the journey, then I have to change it.
Right. I had a notebook and I was trying to write a word a day or a line a day and things like that. And then it kind of just fell off. But I think I do have to get into a habit, because just like having a moment to step back and not be in a mode where my modes are essentially business CEO mode or dad mode. It's like you need a state of clear head, just you time. It's a good call up. It's important.
The thing that got me there was actually about 15 years ago, and I've always been a pretty optimistic, pretty positive oriented guy. And somebody was explaining to me the psychological value of gratitude and how gratitude is like this major judo move on life. And I've always been a glass half full person. And they said, I understand that. Journal every day. Write down 3 things that you're thankful for or grateful every day. And so that would be my other practice, is I do that every single day. And that does completely shift your mindset. I do it at night.
Do this. That's cool. Smart. That's a good way to go to sleep.
It is a great way to go to sleep. No matter how crazy the journey has been, I can find 3 things I'm grateful for today.
A good way to wrap it up. I like that. That's a good call. That's a good call.
I think I know the answer to this based on something you said earlier in our chat today, but I want to ask it anyway. How do you personally define success?
For me, success will be at the end of it all. I take that last breath, and there's, again, 2 folds. It's like on one side, I want my family and my kids to say, thank you, Dad. Thank you, Habib, all those things. And then the rest of the world, they don't need to know me. I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be well known. But I hope that the stories, the messages, the content, the work, the introductions, the cosigns, the reference letters, I just hope that those folks are better because I existed. And if that works, if that happens, easy. Check mark, well done. I did what I wanted to.
Awesome. I got to ask, man, what other books are on your list? You sound like a person, you've got a giveaway book or probably a giveaway book list. What other books are on that list?
The number 2 is The Courage to Be Disliked. It's from Ichiro Kishimi. It's the most fascinating book. It's a story where you essentially hear a mentor and a mentee have a conversation. And they're just having a dialogue through the entire book, back and forth, talking about courage to be disliked and why we operate with certain intentions that are actually not rooted in our own truths, but in this fear of being disliked. And that the reason why we don't chase some of our biggest ambitions is because we don't want our parents to think negatively about us, because we don't want our friends to be like, oh, why are they doing that? We don't want our friends to talk about us behind our back because we have feelings around how the world perceives us. It's a brilliant book, and it goes deep into the psychology of humans. And to me, I would say that this book has had the most pivotal moments and impact on like my approach and ability to operate at a high level in a very long time, because it taps into what I would consider a lot of the distractions of the world. The world will want you to be stressed out. The world wants you to feel like you are a victim. The world wants you to feel like you should walk around saying, woe is me. I'm from Nova Scotia. That's why I'm not good. All these things, all those stories. And the world wants you to join them in these little pity parties. But with this book, it's like, no. There's no time for a pity party. You're literally going to die. What are we talking about? You either get through it, recognize the world for what it is and try to change it, or you can play the pity game. But if you just play that game, you're not going to get anywhere. So make a decision. Are you going to move forward? Are you going to try to change it? Are you going to make an impact? Or are you going to say, this is not going to hold me back. I need to focus on what my priorities are and I'm going to pursue it, and have the courage to be disliked in the process. And if you have the courage to be disliked, you start to make decisions that are actually rooted in what serves you and your vision instead of what serves everybody else and the way that they perceive you. You worry less about, oh, am I going to be canceled? And you worry more about, is this going to make me happy? Is this going to help me get where I want to be? Is this aligned with my values and my goals and what I want to achieve? It's an amazing book.
Believe it or not, I have not read that. So I say, believe it or not, I'm a voracious reader.
It's like the most underrated, sleepy little book. It's, I don't know where, I think the guys that wrote it, Japan. I can barely ever remember their names. Apologies to the authors, but it's, the courage to be disliked. Ichiro Kishimi, super good.
I am absolutely adding that to my read list for the beach next week. You know, it's so funny hearing you talk about that. My favorite book is A Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl, and I read it once a year, specifically to do the thing you just said, which is to remind myself of the agency we have and the importance of agency to choose that response in the midst of stimulus, which is what you're talking about. But what I love about this is the courage to step away, to be disliked. Like that's like a judo move on life when you can do that.
Yeah. And that is also another great one. That's a book that I have many copies of because probably 4 years ago, bought like an entire like palette of that book. And I've been giving them out to friends and peers all the time. I had a boys trip and I brought that book and I gave it to all my boys. It's a great read.
That's super cool.
I'm a very nerdy person. Very dirty person. Giving away books all the time.
I love it. Well, you know, people used to tell me, it was always laugh with my leadership team to say, Dusty, every conversation doesn't need to end with a book prescription. Can we just actually talk about this issue right now? And I was like, okay, great. I appreciate your honesty. Ross, what's a cause or an organization, a passion, something you're passionate about supporting?
There's two. So the Boys and Girls Club, I'm I'm on the board for the local one, and I've been on for probably like 10 years now. So I'm a big believer in trying to help underprivileged youth and helping youth kind of fulfill their dreams. I think there's nothing more pure than a kid, and I don't think that we should limit or try to stifle their creativity and their genius. We should let them thrive and win. So I do a lot in that regard. And then the others is also very similar. It's Tim Hortons Children's Foundation. So it's a camp that's ran across Canada. They also have a few camps in the US where they bring underprivileged kids out to this camp to get experience such as leadership coaching, how to be leaders in their community and things like that. So those two organizations I hold deeply to my heart because I was a kid in both of them. I went through the Boys and Girls Club. I was a underprivileged kid who went to the Tim Hortons programs and went through their entire system and leadership program and stuff like that. So those are two that really, really hold a deep part in my heart.
That's amazing. I'll make sure we link out for that in the show notes. I would be remiss in not asking you this question. And I am patently curious about your thoughts on this as a thought leader in the space of stories and communication. How will stories change and evolve with the advent of AI? And what is that going to do for how humans tell and share stories?
We're going to see more stories than ever before. There's going to be a continuous increase in the amount of stories. And I think over time, it's just going to keep going up. The same way that phones created an increase in content because we all had cameras, AI now in the hands of everybody will create more images, more stories, more messages, more videos. You can go to Google VO and create a film of your own liking. All of these things are going to increase stories. But here's one of the things that's very unique about this rise of new stories. you're going to be able to get access to every story that is exclusively of your own interest. No matter how niche your interests are, there will always be a story that you can consume that will entertain you, that will educate you, make you feel engaged. These stories will become at our fingertips because there will be so many, but also because AI will know everything there is to know about you to say, this is exactly the story that you want to consume. So if the internet knows my YouTube behavior, if the internet knows what I'm doing on the weekend, maybe it's golf. If the internet knows what history books I'm reading, it can blend all of this together to tell a beautiful story about maybe a mystery that happens on a golf course that happens to be dated in the 1800s or something. And it can show me that. And the story can be created in the matter of seconds. And I'm talking like 20, 30 here, 20, 35. In the matter of seconds, these stories can be created and it'll say, for you. The same way that now things are recommended for you based off behaviors. But imagine the story is actually for you and only you. That's the world we're going to live in.
And the first thing that comes to my mind is, and kind of from a provocative lens perspective, the way I'm thinking about this is, and how do we as leaders avoid the echo chamber of being told what we want to hear and what's been curated for us by something we don't control? Because I think that's, as leaders, one of the most important things we have to do is recognize and understand the importance of divergent viewpoints so that we can have a closer approximation of truth. But the most dangerous thing we can do is get locked into an echo chamber. Like I'm like that. I had never thought about it until you just said that, but I'm like, that's going to be fascinating.
It's so real. It's intention. You can't operate passively with your content. So the same way that we watch what we eat, we watch what we drink, and we're monitoring these things, we have to watch what we watch. And we have to monitor how we interact with the things we watch. If you don't want to see a certain type of content, here's the pro tip. Swipe fast. Don't like it. Don't watch the whole thing. Swipe fast. The algorithm is watching you. And if you sit there and you watch a video that you don't actually want to see anymore, it got you. You watched 20 minutes of a video that was like, not great. The algorithm now knows that you want that. You might not mentally and logically want it, but your subconscious wants it. So the algorithm is going to give you that story. So you have to be intentional. And when you see things that you like, that you actually know, I should consume more content about leadership. I should consume more content about real estate, about development, about investing, about technology. Hit the like button, hit the share button, DM it to somebody, watch the whole thing, and even mute it if you have to just let it play. That will change your For You page on all of these channels to actually be what you want. If I go on anyone's Instagram, if anyone gives me their Instagram account, I can tell you exactly who you are. I can tell you exactly who you are based off of what shows up when I open up your Instagram account. You can't hide. If your screen shows me nothing but sports, then you're a sports person. If your screen shows me nothing but a bunch of like chaos and weird stuff, that's what you're into. You can't hide from it. So you have to be intentional. So if you check mine, I'm always liking pictures of pizza and food and like charcuterie boards, because that's what I want to see when I go on Instagram. Maybe some business content. I want to learn how to improve my golf swing, so I'm liking that content a lot, and that's what I'll get. But as soon as you start to let the algorithm take control instead of yourself being conscious and intentional, it's a tricky, tricky line before you're going to go into that rabbit hole where the stories that you hear are the stories that the algorithm knows you want to hear.
If I were to put a single phrase around this entire conversation with you, Ross, I would put the words be intentional. And it goes back to what you've learned from your grandparents, what you've intentionally figured out around distribution, what you've intentionally chosen to teach your kids by the appropriate and conversations you're seeding along the way, to how you are intentionally paying attention during the journey of leadership. And that's so incredibly powerful. And I think it's only going to become more important as we recognize and realize that we are in control of what the algorithm ingests, but not what it puts out. And so that intentional curation of what matters, kudos to you, and thank you for giving us all that like challenge to share, because now I'm a little paranoid about what's on my Instagram feed.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. I hope your listeners got value out of this. And if folks ever are interested in learning more about me, I'm easy to find on the internet.
Yeah. What is the single best way, Ross, that folks can find you, learn more about you, and what you bring to the world? What's your joy?
I'd say the best way would be to go to rosssimmons.com and then add me to any of your favorite social media channels. I'm on all of them: LinkedIn, X, you name it, I'm there. And I would love to keep the conversations rolling.
Awesome. Ross, thank you so much. This is amazing. You are a light on this earth, and I appreciate that you have a story to tell and were willing to tell it with us. Thank you. Thanks for tuning into this solo episode of Leadership Unlocked. If something hit home today, if it challenged you, clarified something, or gave you a tool that you can use, don't just keep it for yourself. Apply it, share it, talk about it with your team. And if you're leading through something tough right now, just know this: you don't have to figure it out alone. That's what this podcast, this work, and this community are all about. Want more tools like this? Head over to arcusgroup.com/podcast or visit arcusgroup.com and join the newsletter. No fluff, just what helps you lead better. Until next time, keep leading with clarity and courage. This is Leadership Unlocked.